The U.S. military presence in the Middle East has been beefed up significantly amid escalating tensions with Iran. The Islamic regime's Ayatollah is warning of a possible regional war if the U.S. strikes.
So Iran is warning any attack on the region would lead to war as the U.S. heightens its military assets in the Middle East. Trump, of course, is claiming that he wants a deal on this.
For years, we were told there was an ironclad alliance between Moscow, Beijing, and Tehran. We were told they formed a bloc against American influence. That bloc has just fractured. Facing a direct threat from the United States and a massive internal crisis, Iran has looked to its great power friends for help, and it has found nothing but silence. Let's look at exactly what is happening on the ground and at sea right now. Russia has made a strategic choice to leave Iran to face American military power alone. This is a stark change from the rhetoric we have heard for years. President Donald Trump has made it clear that a massive armada is on its way. He has stated that he is ready to use violence if necessary. He has warned the leadership in Tehran that they must make a deal regarding their nuclear capabilities or face the consequences. Usually, when a threat like this is made, you would expect Russia and China to step in immediately. You would expect strong warnings. You would expect naval maneuvers. Instead, we are seeing the opposite. Russian President Vladimir Putin held closed-door talks with Iran's top security official Ali Larijani in Moscow. We do not know the exact transcript of those words, but the actions speak for themselves. For the last year, Russia and China worked hard to shield Iran from sanctions. They protected Tehran's nuclear non-compliance. But now that the ships are in the water and the threat is real, that protection has evaporated. There is a specific event that signals this betrayal. Recently, all three countries, Russia, China, and Iran, were scheduled to hold a joint naval exercise called the Will for Peace 2026 off the coast of South Africa. It was supposed to be a show of unity. Instead, Iran withdrew from the exercise. Reports indicate they were nudged to leave by their so-called friends. They were told to step back. This is the most dramatic betrayal since Moscow abandoned its interests in other regions when the heat got too high. To understand why this is happening, we have to look at the silence. It is very loud. President Putin is a man who is usually very quick to accuse the United States of being imperialist or aggressive. He usually issues statements immediately. In this crisis, his restraint is the most telling detail. We actually have a precedent for this. We saw a similar silence recently regarding Venezuela, when American special forces conducted operations in Caracas and removed President Nicolas Maduro. The Russian air defense systems that were supposed to protect him did not fire. The Russian bodyguards could not save him. Putin said nothing then, and he is saying nothing now. The Kremlin was silent about the protests inside Iran for nearly 2 weeks. Insider analysis suggests Moscow was not sure if the Iranian administration would even survive. They did not want to back a losing horse. They were worried that if they issued harsh statements supporting the current regime, it would hurt their ability to make a deal with whoever comes next. This is a cold, hard calculation. Moscow views Tehran as a disposable ally. We also have to look at the weapons situation. Russia has been buying Iranian drones and missiles for its own war in Ukraine. They have purchased nearly $3 billion worth of equipment since 2021, but Iranian stockpiles are not infinite. They are running dry. Furthermore, Iran needs components from China to build those missiles, and those supply lines are now being squeezed by American pressure. Russia knows that Iran has nothing left to sell them. The transaction is over. Therefore, the loyalty is over. China's calculation is even more straightforward. In April, President Xi is scheduled to host President Trump in Beijing. This is a massive diplomatic event. The Chinese government plays a very long game. They are looking at the global chessboard. They have much bigger priorities than propping up a failing regime in the Middle East that the Americans want gone. China is thinking about Taiwan. They are thinking about their own economy. They want a grand bargain with Washington. The question for Beijing is simple. Will they allow a wobbly, fragmenting Iran to ruin their chance at a deal with the US? The answer appears to be absolutely not. Intelligence sources have revealed that Beijing is abandoning its partner to secure its own interests. While Iranian authorities are struggling with internal unrest and the threat of American strikes, China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs is on the sidelines calling for calm. They are using empty diplomatic language. They say they support stability, but they are not offering any military support. The military reality facing Iran is overwhelming. Let's talk about the hardware in the water. The USS Abraham Lincoln is not just a ship, it is a floating airbase. It is one of the Navy's nuclear-powered Nimitz-class carriers. It is 333 meters long. It carries a crew of nearly 6,000 people. It has an air wing of more than 60 aircraft, including F-35 stealth fighters and Super Hornets. But it is not just the carrier. There are 7 destroyers involved. These are Arleigh-Burke-class vessels. Each one of them is capable of launching Tomahawk cruise missiles at targets up to 1,600 kilometers away. 4 of these destroyers are operating under Central Command in the Middle East. 1 is in the Eastern Mediterranean, 1 is in the Red Sea, 2 are near the Strait of Hormuz. In addition, there are 3 littoral combat ships operating in the Persian Gulf, specifically to neutralize naval mines. This encirclement is complete, and the Chinese know it. Intelligence indicates that Beijing's interests in Iran are not existential. They want oil, yes, but they do not need the current regime to survive to get that oil. They just want stability. In fact, they want to prevent a pro-American regime from emerging, but they are not willing to fight a war for it. They are prioritizing stable ties with Washington. They want relief from economic pressure. Iran has become expendable in China's grand strategy. Russia's military support during this crisis proves that the relationship was always just a business deal. Reports show that Russian transport aircraft have arrived in Iran. They brought some equipment. They brought Mi-28 attack helicopters and Spartak armored vehicles. But think about what that equipment is for. An attack helicopter is useless against a high-altitude American airstrike. An armored vehicle cannot stop a Tomahawk missile. That equipment is not for fighting the Americans. It is for fighting the Iranian people. It is for putting down internal insurgents and protesters. Guns and tear gas are enough for stone throwers, but if the insurgency gets armed, the regime needs helicopters. Russia is helping the regime fight its own population, but it is leaving the sky wide open for the Americans. There is another layer to this pressure. President Trump has launched economic warfare that forces China to choose. He threatened a 25% tariff on any country doing business with Iran. This puts China in a terrible position. They are Iran's largest trading partner. But the US market is far more important to them. In response to the tariff threat, China issued a statement opposing unilateral sanctions. They used strong words, but they have not actually done anything to defend Iran. The data shows that China is already backing away. Iranian crude oil shipments to China had doubled in recent years. But now China is stepping back. Imports from Iran are on track to decline for the 4th straight year. They are down 28%. Beijing is cutting its losses. Meanwhile, the Kremlin is hedging its bets. A spokesperson for President Putin said they are working to de-escalate tensions. But look at the offer they made. Russia said it is open to taking some of Iran's enriched uranium to help ease tensions. Think about what that means. They are not offering to defend the nuclear sites. They are offering to take the nuclear material away. They are positioning themselves to inherit Iran's assets while the house burns down. The American military tactics being used right now are highly advanced. The USS Abraham Lincoln is likely operating in the deep waters of the Arabian Sea or the Gulf of Oman. By staying hundreds of kilometers offshore, the carrier uses what is called over-the-horizon tactics. Iran relies on coastal radar and speedboats. They cannot see that far. The carrier is effectively invisible to them. The F-35 jets can fly from the ship, strike deep into Iranian territory, and return without the ship ever coming within range of Iran's shore-based missiles. On top of that, the Pentagon has activated a condition known as River City. This is the Navy's highest level of digital containment. When this is turned on, all communication channels that are not essential for the mission are cut. No Wi-Fi, no personal devices. In 2026, you can track a ship by the digital exhaust of its crew. Intelligence analysts can see a cluster of GPS signals moving in the ocean. By going dark, the Lincoln turns off the lights. It disappears electronically. This makes it impossible for Iranian defenses to track the threat. We need to stop and analyze why this matters so much. This is not just a story about ships moving around. This is a story about the fundamental nature of power and alliances in the modern world. For the last decade, we have heard a constant narrative that the West is in decline and that the East is rising. We were told that Russia, China, and Iran had formed a new axis that could challenge the United States. What we are seeing right now is the reality test of that theory. And the theory is failing. This moment reveals that these alliances are purely transactional. They are based on convenience, not shared values or mutual defense. NATO, for all its flaws, has a treaty that says an attack on one is an attack on all. The relationship between Russia, China, and Iran has no such guarantee. It is a fair-weather friendship. As soon as the storm clouds gathered, the friends went home. This is a massive psychological blow to anti-American forces globally. If you are a smaller regime relying on Russian or Chinese protection, you are looking at Iran right now and you are terrified. You saw what happened in Venezuela. You see what is happening in Tehran. You realize that when the American carrier group arrives, nobody is coming to save you. We also have to analyze the role of fear. Authoritarian regimes rely on fear to survive. They need their people to fear them, and they need their enemies to fear their allies. Both of those fears are evaporating. The Iranian people are protesting because they smell weakness. The American military is advancing because they do not fear Russian or Chinese intervention. When the fear barrier breaks, regimes collapse very quickly. Let's compare this to Syria. A decade ago, Russia intervened heavily to save the Assad regime. They sent planes, they sent troops, and they bombed cities. Why did they do it then, and why are they not doing it now? The difference is calculation. Syria gave Russia a port in the Mediterranean and a foothold in the Levant. It was manageable. Defending Iran against the full weight of the United States Navy is a completely different proposition. It is too expensive. It is too dangerous. Russia is already stretched thin by its war in Ukraine. They simply do not have the capacity to fight a second major conflict in the Middle East. This also exposes the limits of Chinese power. China is an economic giant, but militarily and diplomatically, they are still very cautious. They are not ready to confront the United States directly. They prefer to win without fighting. If winning requires a war, they will fold. This is a crucial lesson for the rest of the world. China's checkbook is open, but its missile silos are closed unless its own soil is threatened. The institutional breakdown in Iran is being accelerated by this isolation. A regime can survive internal pressure if it has external support. It can survive external pressure if it has internal unity. Iran has neither. It is being squeezed from both sides. The silence from Moscow and Beijing is effectively a permission slip for the United States. It signals to Washington that there is no red line. We are watching the concept of a multipolar world hit a hard wall. The reality of American military logistics is undefeated. The ability to park a nuclear-powered airfield off a coast and keep it there indefinitely is a capability that no other nation possesses. Russia and China can harass, they can spy, and they can exert economic pressure. But they cannot project force like this. And because they cannot project force, they cannot protect their friends. The conclusion from all of this is undeniable. The anti-Western alliance was a mirage. When the pressure became real, Russia and China looked at the cost and decided Iran was not worth it. We are moving into a period of extreme instability, followed by a new order. The vacuum left by the collapse of this alliance will be filled. The only question is whether it will be filled by a pro-American government, a military junta, or total chaos. But one thing is certain, the era of Iran facing the West with a superpower shield behind it is finished. The shield is gone, the ships are there, and the timeline is moving very fast.